meeting like this that we've had since the tax issue came up. We appreciate your being here tonight. Since this is also a place of worship, I want to begin with a little brief story about a preacher. There was a woman shaking hands with a preacher at the back door of the church building, and she told the preacher that his sermons that were now being shown on TV meant so much to her husband since he had lost his mind. I think she meant that as a compliment, but it didn't quite sound like that, did it? But I was thinking about that expression, lost his mind or her mind, and as we talk to people a lot of times today about some of these issues, it seems to me I wouldn't quite go that far to say they'd lost their mind, but they've lost their way, and they need some help. As always, when I'm speaking, I want to try to stimulate your thinking about whatever issues we're discussing. Tonight, I want us to begin by imagining that there is a charitable organization that has been around for a long time, and they have as their goal to raise $109 million to promote their program of helping the poor. And in that program, it is their goal not only to provide for immediate needs of the poor, but also to help them to get to a point where they're no longer poor and no longer needing the assistance of that particular program. Now, let's say that this charitable organization approaches you and me, and they want us to make a commitment to allow them to withdraw money from our bank accounts once a year for a period of 30 years. Now, once you sign into that, you can't opt out. If you sign in and you see after a couple of years they're wasting the money and they're not doing what they said, you can't opt out. You stay in. And so if you say, well, I'll quit paying, or well, I'll probably die by then your heirs will be paying it for the 30 years. Now, there are two possible responses that I want to give to you about that kind of thing if you were asked to participate in it. Number one, someone might say, oh yes, sign me up. I'm all for that. I'm all in on that. Or there might be someone who would say, wait a cotton-picking minute. I need some answers to some questions about this thing before I'm going to commit to anything like that. So what kind of questions would we want to ask? Well, there are four that I want to mention tonight. Are they competent? Have they demonstrated an ability and an understanding to manage properly such a venture as they're talking about?
No.
Secondly, what is their track record? Do they have concrete proof of success with past achievements that they have had in this area? A significant number of people being moved from poverty to work. That's something that we need to know. The third thing is, what will they actually do with the money once it is in their hands? Is there any possibility there might be some other hands get in there and there might be some corruption? We would want to know that, wouldn't we? And then the fourth thing is, do the people who want your money respect you? Do they consider your thoughts or your opinions to be valuable? And are they trustworthy people? Now, as I'm sure you've already figured out, this sounds a lot like the school bond issue, doesn't it? The $109 million. And I believe that we need to use these same common sense questions in regard to the school board. And so we begin with the question, are they competent to do and to manage what they have professed that they want the money for from the taxpayers? I would remind all of us that this process began back early this year when the school board and the administration rolled out the $109 million plan. And at that time, they set up a website for people to put questions, and they were going to answer the questions on the website. And after a short period of time, this question was put on the website, and I'd like for you to listen to the question and listen to their answer. Question number 60 said, there are some concerns that this whole thing just came out of nowhere. How would you address those concerns? The school board in the district said this. This came from an evaluation of school district facility use and needs. It is based on the best interest of current and future students in Lawrence County School, District 55. We believe the 3+ months available prior to the referendum is more than enough time for constructive public debate on this issue. It is also more than enough time for us to ensure the community that it has all of the facts pertaining to the question, which we'll decide on May 9th, 2017. Now, as we know, May 9th has come and gone, hasn't it? When they rolled this thing out, they began to realize that the rollout of this plan was a disaster. And so they moved, not willingly, but were pushed, and they moved the date back to September the 5th. But now, notice that he says here, this is their initial plan. And remember, we're judging whether or not they were competent to put this out and to follow through on it. They said that we can vote on the 9th of May. And of course, they thought it would be over then and they'd be digging for the school building by now. But it didn't happen. Somebody miscalculated, didn't they? Somebody misjudged, didn't they? Is that competence or incompetence? And then the last thing they said in this, it is also more than enough time for us to ensure the community, that the community has all of the facts pertaining to the question which they will decide, not on May 9th, but now on September the 5th. Do you have all of the information that you need? Do you know where the building is going to be built or proposed to be built? Do you know the size of this new plan that they have come out with recently, the size of that building? Do you know how many classrooms are in it? Do you know any of these kinds of things about it? If they are not able, like I say, they've gone well past May 9th, June 9th, and July 9th, 2 whole months. And we hardly have any more information today than we did then that is of a real concrete form of ideas. So, if I ask you tonight whether it's the charity wanting the $109 million or the school district, with this record, would you say that they are competent for the task that they are proposing? Yes or no?
No.
No. Okay. Now, the second question is, what is their track record? What is their success rate in what they've been doing? And of course, we understand that the school district has been in charge for forever in different forms down through the years. But let's just say the last 20 years. How well have they been performing in providing a quality education for the students in Lawrence District 55? Well, the district is still in 34th place 34% rather, in the low percentage of the state high schools. They're ranked, they like 1% being in the very bottom third. So they're just a hair above that. So does that sound like that they have really been making progress and doing well in the time that they have been in charge of it? Now, I want to suggest some things and give you some information here about the last 20 years, as I mentioned. In the last 20 years, actually it's less than 20, and I mentioned some of this at the last meeting we had, the school board and the administration in 1999 borrowed $24 million for school building work in the district. In 2005, they borrowed $39 million, almost $500,000, again for building construction or building remodeling and updating, and most of that one was for the current high school building. And then in 2016, they borrowed another $1.83 million in order to buy the building that is now the new district administrative office down on Hillcrest Drive. Now, all of this together totals up to around $65 million in the last 18 years that the district, that the taxpayers have spent just on the buildings or the facilities in Lawrence District 55. Now, those figures do not count the interest that we are paying also along with that. And I would say a conservative estimate of that would be another $30 million of interest that would be paid. So that brings us to $95 million in cost to the taxpayer. And so the district now comes along and says, well, we need $109 million more. Well, if you add the $109 million more, plus $50 million more for interest on it, that's $254 million of money that the taxpayers of Lawrence County are expected to pay back between 1999 and the end of this 30-year bond. But now, that's kind of like a lot of money. And again, when we look at their performance with the money that they have had as far as education is concerned, it's not really that impressive, is it? And so all of this money that they are spending and want to spend is money that you and I and our children will be paying back. Now, when President Obama was president and certain things came up in the country, he would often say, you know, this is a teachable moment. I won't quote what I think about what kind of a teacher he was, but nevertheless, he said it was a teachable moment. You know, I think this could be a teachable moment for the school district. The school district could decide that, you know, children need to learn about economics in the real world. They need to learn the lesson that you can't always have what you want, that you need to live with what you can afford. And if they do that, they will come to the conclusion that Lawrence County can't afford this. People of Lawrence County cannot. And then they could go to the high school and meet with all of the students, and they could say, you know, we tried, but it didn't pass. So we need to do the best we can, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to work with the money that we have. And then the third thing that we were talking about is, will they actually do with the money once it is in their power? What will they do with it? And again, we did mention the subject of corruption. Now we also need to think about running over budget too. You know, have you ever heard of a government project running over budget on anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that could happen. And as far as corruption is concerned, and I'm not accusing of anyone of any, and I hope certainly there wouldn't be. But Mr. Murray from the school district said in an article in the Advertiser recently that there was no possibility that there could be any corruption. I wonder if he wrote the slogan that the Titanic could not sink. And then the fourth thing is, do people wanting your money respect you, and are they trustworthy? From the beginning of this situation, the school board and the administration have not acted openly, and they have not acted in a forthright manner with the taxpayers in this district. The board and the administration has been trying to stifle opposition, stifle free speech on the part of those who oppose it. They said from the very beginning that the public should not listen to anyone who was not a part of the anointed committees that the school board has set up around the county. Now, does that sound like someone respects you? Does that sound like someone that you can trust? They've had secret meetings on various occasions, formed in such a way as to avoid having to give any public information about it. And so we need to, as we think about this thing, we need to say, does it pass the competency test? Is their track record worthy of what they're seeking? What will they actually do with the money? And do they respect the people of the county enough to be forthright and honest in all of it? That's something to think about in deciding yes or no on the school bond vote. Thank you.